Hey, what's up guys? This video is going to be a bit simpler one, just going over how to get, or at least increase your odds of getting, the skill mutation moves of Almighty Amp and Magic Mastery. For those that are unaware, Almighty Amp is a plus 50% skill similar to other moves like Ice Amp or Fire Amp, while Magic Mastery is a 50% boost to all magic besides Almighty. Both of these passives are able to stack with other stuff like Almighty Boost or Magic Ability respectively, providing you with a lot more damage. Now, obviously these passives aren't required for anything, even Elizabeth. You just go for them if you want to min-max your favorite personas. The catch is, both of these passives are only available randomly through skill mutation. As we'll see for Almighty Amp shortly, getting that passive isn't too challenging, relatively speaking, and once you get it, you can pass it on to whoever you like. However, Magic Mastery, for some unthinkable reason, is non-transferable. So whoever you get it on, it's stuck there. And if you want to get Magic Mastery on another persona, you'll have to go through the same RNG hell all over again. It's a shame this passive is so rare and non-transferable, because Magic is already at a bit of a disadvantage compared to Fizz in this game, so having its best passive locked behind an RNG system is pretty lame. Regardless, in this vid, I'll be going over how to increase the odds of these passives appearing. To start off, we have to talk about the ranks that skills can have. In Persona 3 Reload, every skill has a rank associated with them, with the highest one being 9. There are only 4 rank 9 skills, those being Magic Ability, Victory Cry, Null Fizz, and Morningstar, while there are a bunch of rank 8 skills. If you want to see this list for yourself, check the Fusion Calc in the description. The reason that knowing about ranks is important is that higher rank skills can have more odds of mutating into these two passives. At least, that holds true up until rank 9. Just from my own testing, when I was trying to get Magic Mastery on Lucifer and Orpheus, none of the rank 9 skills ever mutated for me. And it's not that they didn't mutate into the right thing, they straight up never changed. And I spent a good amount of time on this. So just for my own testing, when you're picking skills to use for mutation, stick to rank 8 skills, not the rank 9 ones. With that out of the way, we can move on to talking about the first passive, Almighty Amp. But before we do that, I have to say, if you guys end up finding this video helpful, consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Before making this vid, I put out a community post that included surveys on how people got the skill mutation moves, and thank you everyone who answered those. For Almighty Amp, we can quickly take a look at the results. Here we can see that most people when going for Almighty Amp were able to get it. The personas it appeared on are pretty varied as you'd expect, but there was a lot of Hellel, Satanael, Messiah, and Orpheus Telos, among other ones. The next question was, what did Almighty Amp transform from? And as we can see, Almighty Boost was the most common answer by a lot. Almighty Boost is only found on Hellel, the Max Star persona, and Satanael, a DLC one. Otherwise, I had a bunch of rank 8 skills listed here, and it seems like they were able to transform at a pretty similar rate. And even at the end, we had some extra responses saying it transformed from rank 7 skills like Zeodyne, Concentrate, Shift Amp, among others. So those skills seem to work as well, just perhaps at a lower rate. From the results, we can basically conclude that the best way to go about getting Almighty Amp is to use a persona that has Almighty Boost and as many rank 8 skills as you can include. There is a little more that goes into this, but I'll explain that further after the Magic Mastery section. Once you have Almighty Amp, you can pass it on to anyone. The best way to see how to do that is by using the Fusion Calculator. The last 2 questions on the poll were a bit more out of interest. I was wondering if people's mutations happen closer to full moons, as there's been some hearsay that mutations are more likely then. For the people who remembered, most did say that the mutation came close to a full moon or on a full moon day. And from some data mining, this is actually supported by the code. Mutations are more likely closer to a full moon. Though interestingly, fusion accidents are the opposite, with those being more likely closer to new moons. The last question was just asking how long it took people to get Almighty Amp. We can see that a lot of people just randomly got it, otherwise most were under an hour or between 1 to 3. But there were some people where it took longer, even 3 to 6, 6 to 12, and never getting it. Hopefully this video can help shrink these numbers down. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Magic Mastery. And man, this one passive is infinitely more complex than I thought it would be. First, I have to give some shoutouts to some people. 2V had a video on Magic Mastery as well, and Zyro left a detailed comment on my community post. Definitely check out their channels. But above all, most of the info for this section comes from CTOBN on Discord. They have done a ton of data mining and research for Persona 3 Reload already, and they answered a ton of questions I had. The info for this section is a bit complicated, so you guys will have to stick with me here. Basically, when it comes to skill mutations, the moves you choose to transfer aren't the only thing that matters. The fusion ingredients also matter a lot. Personas in the game are categorized in different packs based on their arcana. This matters because certain skills are only available in some packs. Since we're talking about Magic Mastery here, this skill is only available in packs 3, 5, and 6. You can see what arcanas are in which packs based on the image on screen. This matters because to even have a chance of Magic Mastery showing up, at least one of the personas in the fusion needs to be from pack 3, 5, or 6, and ideally both of them are from these packs. Having only one will lower your odds by quite a bit. To offer an example, for my Elizabeth vids, I was trying to get Magic Mastery on Orpheus. The fusion I was doing was Slime and Legion, who are both full personas from pack 3, so in terms of fusion ingredients, I was fine here. Apart from fusion ingredients, the skills you choose to transfer matter as well. CTOBN made a calculator for this, which I'll leave in the description and the pinned comment. If you want to use the calculator for yourself, make sure to make a copy first. In the Simple Weight Combiner tab, we can see what skills are the highest weighted outcomes from skill mutations. For my example from earlier, I'm using 2 full personas, so I put 3 and 3 in the first pack and second pack cells. Then I'll go to column I and sort from largest to smallest. When you do this in the sheet, the numbers will only appear here for a second because I think reordering this part kind of messes with the formulas, so maybe screenshot before they disappear. Looking at the screenshot, we can see a list of skills. These skills represent the most likely outcomes of skill mutations. What we want to do is remove the most likely outcomes, thereby indirectly increasing the odds of Magic Mastery showing up. This is because the highest weighted outcomes will no longer be in the pool of what can appear. I hope this isn't too confusing for you guys. Getting one passive in a video game shouldn't be this complex. Focus on only the rank 8 skills here. Soul Link, while it does appear a lot, is a rank 7 skill, so the odds of it mutating into Magic Mastery are far lower. Heaven's Blade is normally an exclusive skill, so it shouldn't be considered either. The skills we want to include in this particular example are some combination of Vorpal Blade, Inferno, Diamond Dust, Megadolon, Salvation, Bloody Charge, Heat Riser, Alley Dance, and Spellmaster. Again, these are the most likely outcomes of skill mutation, so including them in the fusion removes them from the possible pool and boosts the odds of Magic Mastery showing up. But that was just one example. Let's try it out for another persona. Say we want Magic Mastery on Goemon for that max King and Eye damage. What we first want to try and do is find good fusion ingredients. So we go to Goemon's page on the fusion calc and try to find fusions where both personas are from either packs 3, 5, or 6. An example is Priestess and Devil, who are both from pack 6. Any of these fusions would work. Since this is a 6+6 fusion, we can enter this into the calculator and see the results. Generally on Goemon you want Diamond Dust, and the other skills will be the higher weighted rank 8 ones, so maybe Almighty Amp, Brave Blade, and God's Hand, just as an example. This would give the highest odds of Magic Mastery appearing on Goemon. I say highest odds, but even with all this done, the chances of Magic Mastery appearing are still low. In this Goemon example, it's roughly a 1 in 349 chance. And since you want to keep Diamond Dust and not have it be the one to mutate, it's even lower, down to 1 in 485. Yeah, pretty rough. Okay, hopefully that part made sense. Believe me, it took a while for me to understand it. Now that we got 2 persona fusions out of the way, what about fusions that involve multiple components? Well, from CTOBN's research and testing, it seems for these fusions only Material 1 and Material 2 in the fusion list matter. They did a lot of manual testing on Metatron, whose fusion materials consist of packs 6, 2, 5, and 3 in that order, and they found that skills were only ever attributed to 6 and 2, while never any from 5 or 3. This is just based on our current understanding of skill mutations, so there could be more we found out in the future. If things change, I'll update the description and the pinned comment. But what that means is, there are actually some personas that straight up can't learn Magic Mastery because their first 2 materials aren't from packs 3, 5, or 6. One is Orpheus Telos because their first material is Death and the second is Sun. Another is Thanatos, whose materials are only Death. And lastly, though this isn't a comprehensive list, is Arsene, whose materials are Lovers and Magician. Again, this is based on our best current understanding, so it could conceivably change. But it does seem unfortunate that some of the coolest designs can't learn Magic Mastery. I guess at least Messiah can. Now that that's out of the way, I'll talk a bit about my own experience trying to get Magic Mastery. The first time I tried to get it was on Lucifer, just to see if it would appear. Back then, I didn't know anything about this stuff, I was only including a bunch of rank 8 skills and resetting till it happened. It took about 20-ish minutes, but eventually Inferno mutated, and that was it. The next time was on Orpheus for the Elizabeth vids. Because I could only transfer 4 skills onto Orpheus, and one of them was Diamond Dust that I wanted to keep for the Ice build, this was an absolute nightmare. It didn't help that I was still unaware of any of this stuff. But there was also some unfortunate RNG. The first time Magic Mastery showed up, it mutated off Diamond Dust, the one skill I wanted to keep. The second time, you guessed it, from Diamond Dust again. At this point, I had been at this for multiple sessions across some days, so I was ready to stop trying. But I had sunk cost fallacy at this point, so I kept going. And luckily, not too long after the last attempt, Magic Mastery appeared for Megidolon, and the build was ready to go. Knowing what I know now, I could have definitely done some things to speed up this process, but you live and you learn. There were a couple of other interesting skill mutations. I got Victory Cry twice, both times from Inferno, which is normally only found on Orpheus Telos. Another one was Heaven's Blade, which is usually exclusive to Uriel and Michael, but can in fact appear in mutations. It's the only exclusive skill available in this way. Now that we know more about how fusion ingredients work for skill mutations, we can also find one of the best ways to get Almighty Amp. Pack 6 is the one that has the highest weight for this skill, so fusing together 2 Pack 6 personas will be ideal. Again, the fusion calc is the best place to look for this stuff. You want to definitely pass down Almighty Boost, and by looking at the list of most likely mutation outcomes, we know to include Brave Blade and any 3 of God's Hand, Divine Judgment, Demonic Decree, Megidolon, Salvation, Enduring Soul, or Unshaken Will. This gives one of the highest odds of Almighty Amp appearing. Last thing to talk about, and this video has ended up much longer than I expected, is getting Magic Mastery even worth it? Short answer is no. Long answer is it depends, but likely still no. The thing about Persona 3 Reload is, there's a max 5x cap for damage boosting passives. If you're familiar with Persona 5 Royal, the cap was 2x in that game. What that means is, there are some cases where Magic Mastery won't even provide much extra damage. An example is the DLC Magic Personas. These ones come with exclusive driver skills that increase their damage by 75%, and because damage boosts are multiplicative, they can reach a 4.7 times increase by themselves. By adding Magic Mastery on top of this, you're only getting roughly a 6% increase in damage because of the cap. Is 6% more damage worth potentially hours of resetting? That's up to you. For non-DLC personas, Magic Mastery is a lot more significant, because without driver passives, they can't come close to the 5x cap. For them, this passive is a straight 50% increase in damage. But again, You never need this much damage, so unless you're trying a particular strat, or simply want to min-max one persona, it probably isn't worth your time, to be honest. Alright, I'm done for today. Thank you to anyone who stuck around to this point, and huge thank you to CTOBN for data mining and researching all this info and sharing it with everyone. If there are any updates, I'll include the info in the description. Till then, good luck on your fusions.